Hi, this is Crystal Cox. I'm doing my reflection for Competency 2, the facilitating the brief individual session. Again, I felt overall like this went well. I felt like I had a good greeting. I sort of checked to make sure that it was an appropriate time. I think that's important for the parents because they're so busy. And I did remind the parent while I was calling just to refresh them. I would have liked, as I looked through the checklist, I did remind her of the time limit, but I did that just a little bit later, and I think that's something good to say right up front so that if she does have some things pressing, she knows it's not really going to take that long. So I'd like to do that a little closer to the beginning of the conversation than I did. As I go through the checklist, I feel like I did a good job prompting her. She talked to me about what she did, her homework task, taking the child to the grocery store. I kept giving prompts and getting her to think through what went well, think through what didn't go well. Nearer to the end of the conversation, it seems to me that I could have used maybe less prompts. I felt like I was talking a little more, maybe jumping in a little sooner than I had to, and just wanting her, especially in that part where we were talking about a strategy that she had used, which was the directed discussion, giving her a little bit less prompting and just listening a little more would have been positive, I think. Maybe even having her, asking her to go through those steps so that I made sure she understood the steps that are in that strategy. And then if I felt like there was any confusion or if it would have been beneficial, I could have pointed her back to the parent workbook where it described the strategy of directed discussion. That would have been a resource that she could have looked back at, and it failed to point that out. So overall, looking at her specific goals for the next week, I think that went well. I really had to keep all this pretty brief. Again, I have to practice being a little quicker, I think. But for me, the conversation and the relationship is more important than being too worried about time, although I know there's a value in the time limits here. So I was able to fit in that time, but barely. So I was glad about that. I think it's helpful to me just to practice like these videos have me to do so that I can continue to be more concise and still keep that good relationship going. So I felt good about this overall. Don't have any problems talking to my parents, so I feel good about talking to them on the phone, or even I have the possibility because of my setup to do this in person, and which would be even more great, I think. So yep, those are the things that I would do differently and the things that I liked.